There's some dirty doings going on in West Virginia that's going to impact the entire country, and it all has to do with an old white man. And this time it isn't Joe Manchin. Meet E. Gordon Gee, the president of West Virginia University and the very definition of failing upward. He's been the president of a number of universities, and everywhere he goes, there's like little questions of money. Ohio State spent $64,000 on those bow ties and bow tie cookies and anything else they could do to brand him with that damn bow tie. Then Gee had to abruptly retire because he was heard calling Notre Dame players those damn Catholics. And just as an aside, Gee happens to be Mormon. I just let people know that because I know I have a lot of ex-Mormons who follow me. He was also the president of Brown University, and he left after 2 years. That's really uncommon. Presidents don't leave universities, and certainly not an Ivy League institution, after 2 years. But he's so pissed off faculty and administration that every year they erect this lavatory at Reunion. He left Brown to go be the chancellor of Vanderbilt University. There he got them to renovate his presidential home to the tune of $6 million. He and his wife spent $700,000 a year entertaining people in that home. He was accused of hiring a private jet to take students to an away athletic game. Even the Wall Street Journal did a story about his out-of-control spending. Every time this guy leaves an institution, it's another headline about what the scandal was or the controversy was about him leaving. And then he ends up in West Virginia, a place where he had been president before. I first learned about E. Gordon Gee when I first started studying the marketing of higher education. And he was always noted as like the guy to see because he does these things called Gee-mails. Let me show you.
Nearing the end of 2017, when we have much to celebrate. Though I'm not one to gaze longingly into the rearview mirror, it is important to reflect on the joys and successes of each passing year. Since returning to West Virginia University nearly 4 years ago, I have had the pleasure of bringing to you these fun yet often thoughtful videos we call Gee-mail. With another year wrapping up, let's take a look back at some of the best and worst moments of Gee-mail history in 2017.
Now, after he's bamboozled everybody with his Gee-mails and how friendly he is, and he's reporter on the scene and all that kind of stuff, then he does this. In a move that can only be called shocking, not just people in West Virginia, but all throughout higher education, this president slashed 143 faculty jobs and 28 academic programs. Higher ed overall is in trouble, and colleges are dealing with significantly reduced enrollments, but West Virginia's enrollments are down 10%, which is much higher than the national average. Because their numbers were so bad, the Board of Trustees had to cut the budget by $75 million. Obviously, this has a huge impact on the students who are there. Any student who has less than 60 credits, which means that they're only halfway through their program or not up to halfway through their program, may not be able to finish at that university because the program won't exist for them to be able to finish. I've also talked on here about how colleges knew that there was going to be this cliff. There was a cliff in terms of the number of students who were going to enroll because millennials had aged out of their college years. Stupidly, Gee banked on the fact that they were still going to have the same kind of enrollment they had before. Like, why? Why? It's also important to note that he didn't make cuts to administration. He made cuts to programs and to faculty. The reason why this has implications beyond West Virginia is that if we have a university president and his board of trustees can just decide willy-nilly what programs they want to eliminate and what faculty they want to get rid of, there's no reason that other programs around the United States won't look at this and say, well, they did it in West Virginia, we can do it here. And this is not just an issue for faculty, this is an issue for students. Imagine if you're a student and you're going into your junior year and suddenly the program disappears. We all know higher ed is at a crossroads, but why somebody couldn't figure out before now that this guy with a bow tie doesn't know how to run an institution, is just beyond me. And obviously, he was able to raise money or nobody would have kept him around. But there was a lot of stink around this guy.